Love
a
it.
good place. Yeah. So it's great to meet you, and I want to begin our conversation with surviving the last. So we're going on the 4-year anniversary of the pandemic, and you had mentioned you had moved, right around that time. So how did you get through the pandemic, and how did it subsequently change you?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. It's, I mean, I have a wonderful food company now, and I think actually it was facilitated by the pandemic for sure. But I bet that you can relate because I too am a creative. I've been a creative my whole life, specifically creative writing. And that was one of the most challenging things was basically feeling like, we've all been separated from each other. And in a way, I find a lot of my fuel for being creative is being out and drawing inspiration from other people and connecting and definitely being out in my favorite cafes and driving around. So I think one of the biggest challenges for me was certainly being cut off from other people and then needing to figure out how to source that online like we're doing right now. And
Yeah.
so and then what was really interesting is it created a bit of a pressure cooker for creating. And so I think I channeled a lot of my need for connection into creating both writing and then also creating this incredible food company that the impetus for it was that it's interesting what our bodies do when we're under incredible stress. And inflammation is a big one that I think more and more people are becoming really present to and understanding that stress is the biggest factor when, our lives start to break down and
Yeah.
our bodies and our well-being. And so I think there were a lot of challenges in the pandemic, and there were a lot of things that just got super crystal clear as to what was important and what I really cared about and how to go forward from that place.
I moved in January of that year. We actually signed
Oh,
on January 1, so it was a relief,
wow.
because I got married in July and everything got fast tracked. And I thought it was a little bit quick to sell and do all that, but I was like, let's do it. So I'm so glad that it all happened prior to the pandemic. I mean, because that was a real timing shuffle. And it's interesting you mentioned, you know, really honing in and doing more during that time as a creative, because I remember that morning of the 13th, I was listening to this jazz station out of San Francisco, and I always get joy out of just listening to music in the morning. And there's always sounds in rooms. And I remember there was just blood pulsing through my ears, and I was like, "What am I going to do? Like, what is this going to materialize into?" And I remember I did more interviews with musicians than I ever did before. I just and I would have my kids in the car, and I'd have the interview on speaker, and the jazz musicians were overwhelmingly positive, had this strength and grit about them that was so reassuring. So it was like there was such a good thing. But it's so interesting, I haven't really honed into that direct vein of what you said, but it was so true. It was like I just dug in harder because there was going to be that connection, this symbiosis. They weren't going to be able to make music the way they were, so it was just going to be a good interchange of kind of cathartically or therapeutically getting through a tough time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel very grateful for how much I've honed my ability to create
Yeah.
prior to the pandemic showing up. Because I needed something, I really, really needed something that was positive and that was reassuring and where I could see the progress, because I think we all became really time blind
Yeah.
for at least a year.
Yeah.
And that can be super demoralizing, or at least just confusing. So
Yeah.
so yeah, to actually see, oh look, I'm progressing on this thing that I'm pouring my heart into, and I can show up for other creatives and encourage them and let them know that. And part of that was also for the folks who had the exact opposite reaction to me, um, where they felt like suddenly they couldn't create and they were completely blocked. And I felt like I spent a lot of time really letting those folks know that's okay. Like this is your response. My stress response is to actually double down on what I'm making
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of creatives that felt like it just shut them down for a
Yeah.
while until they could get through that.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
get that. If I could pick one image from that time, I would pick Dali's melting clocks because time just it did really all kind of morph into this one thing. It's weird, you know.
It's so true. And even when you, I don't know about you, but if you kind of try to like time travel back to 2020, it's like there's no there's no markers, there's no
No.
points in time that you kind of have like a waypoint on a map. Like you just are like it's all a blur. So
Uh-huh.
that's a great image.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I remember we had our first parade right after all of that, before we went into COVID, we had our first citywide celebration. The Chiefs won that year. And I remember my dad, who wasn't around at the time, he passed in '08. He used to always tell me, and people used to always joke around, if the Chiefs finally shake this 50-year itch and win a Super Bowl, the world's going to come to an end. And it did after that happened. It was just
Oh, I
like,
love it.
yeah, so it's wild. So let's get to the heart and essence of what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that?
Yeah. Oh my. Well, my first answer is I do a lot of things. Because I find, I used to think that that was an issue, and I can certainly appreciate that there's folks who choose one box and they stick to that box. And I think one of the beautiful things about being a passionate creative is that there are different things that you will do. And what I've really come to that lights me up is that I know now that they feed each other. So my primary thing that I'm doing right now is I am launching and building a food business that it's basically creates meals that are super portable. They're all designed to travel with really easily. Delicious, delicious food that is supports your well-being, is really healthy, and basically you add like a cup of water and it's ready in 5 minutes. So we've created these meals specifically for folks who have really busy lifestyles, which is most of us, and who have digestive sensitivities. So like are under a lot of stress, and so they need a specific way that their food is made. So
Yeah.
that's called the diet, that if you're having a lot of inflammation in your body, that a nutritionist or a doctor or naturopath that will put you on initially is called the FODMAP diet, and it's basically a low inflammation diet.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is our meals are dairy free and gluten free. So again, super easy to digest, delicious, and designed that you can take it on a plane, have it in your car, like they last for a really long time. And we really wanted to provide that to folks who are really wanting to have those vibrant lifestyles, and are conscious of the fact that there's a lot of really positive stress that happens when we're zipping around and getting on planes and going to a different time zone. So that's my primary thing, and it's called Flourish Kitchen.
These ideas are genius because we've done this in the house where we've gotten prepared meals and they're in a box and you have the ice packs and all of that. And they're always really good. I mean, there's sometimes where you're a little bit like, yeah, I'm not sure. But the whole idea of this new advent of providing that service to people in this very busy world that we live in that can be a healthy alternative, I find it to be genius. Like, yeah, it's wonderful. It
Thank
really
you. I
is.
love it. And
Yeah.
ours are actually they're freeze dried. So what's cool about freeze dried meals is it's super lightweight. Like basically when you hold one of our meals, it's about I'm going to speak metric, so I'll have to figure out the ounces, but it's basically about 80 grams, which is
Okay.
super, super lightweight.
Yeah.
And you can carry it on a plane, no problem. I've done it.
Mhm.
I've talked to the folks when I'm crossing a border. They're okay with it. And basically you just need a cup of hot water and a container, and it creates this, like we do risotto and turkey chili and chicken tandoori, like really, really hearty, yummy, delicious meals. And
Yeah.
the cool thing is it doesn't have to be refrigerated. You don't have to have that ice pack, because what I've found in talking to a lot of our customers and our potential customers is that you don't want that extra stressor. Like
Yeah.
I know a couple of people who are traveling to Europe, and they have really specific dietary needs, and so they're filling their backpacks with or their luggage with like granola bars,
Yeah.
so to be able to have something that is right there and and you can take advantage of. And it takes off a huge stressor,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah. So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
Oh my goodness, what did I want to be? And I probably wanted to be like an adventurer, I
Yeah.
think. I think I wanted to be somebody who just got on like, airplanes or boats and navigated all around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, and I think that in some ways that was like the storyteller in me because I was so fascinated by people and their stories and, what makes different people, be the way they are and act the
Yeah.
way they are. And I just wanted to know everybody. Like I just was so fascinated with all the different, people out there and all their different jobs. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So let me ask you this. Take me back to where you were born and raised and how these seeds of being an entrepreneur and food being kind of a focal point and being a creative. How did all of this evolve into who you are
Mm.
today?
Oh, wow. That's great. So I actually grew up on the east coast of Canada in Nova Scotia. And I will say that the culture, it's very Celtic. It's very sort of Scottish, Irish. It's got French, it's got Native Canadian. And so there's a lot going on there. The biggest influence, I'm a huge part of my heritage. I have both French and Celtic heritage. And so, music and stories and making things is central. It's like the heartbeat of that culture. And it's the way that you bring people together. So there's a hilarious and beautiful experience that you have always in the Maritimes in Nova Scotia when you're growing up there, which is every party that you ever hold ends up in the kitchen because food and music and conversation are like it's the heartbeat, it's the lifeblood of where I grew up. And both of my parents were so passionate about food and good food. Like I really got raised with the idea that, the food you choose makes such a difference in the quality of your life, in how you feel, in just enjoying the moment. And that's yeah, it was just it's yeah, I love your question so much because oh shoot. Oh no. Wait. Ah,
Did it freeze
my
up on us?
apologies.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Yes, totally.
Okay.
So sorry
Okay.
about that.
Yeah.
I guess we can just continue, but that's
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. No, no, that's good. No, that's great. And I'm curious in your life, who's been kind of a hero, an inspiration for you to do all of this work that
Oh,
you do?
oh, that's great. Well, definitely my partner and co-founder because he is somebody who just jumps in and does things. Like I think what I love about him is that yeah, I think the adventure of doing something is more exciting than coming up with all the reasons not to do it.
Yeah.
So he has taught me so much about jump in and figure it out while you're doing it. Like if you have the fire and the passion and you know that this is something that matters to you, don't overthink it. Get in there and do the thing and find out if it works as you're
Yeah.
doing it. And that's been such an inspiration because I think I did grow up with a lot of folks who would like kind of question something to death, like how you can overthink something to the point that then like all the juice goes out of it. Like you
Yeah.
can't, like you just don't want to do it anymore. So
Yeah.
so yeah, he's been an incredible inspiration to me.
So speaking of inspirations, if you can meet one person alive on the planet right now and
Ooh.
spend some time with them, who would that one person be?
The person that comes to mind is Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote
Oh yeah.
Big Magic and Eat, Pray, Love, and I think she's coming to mind because recently I saw an interview with her where she talks about, no matter what you make or produce or do, really it's your life that is the work of art. And so as long as you're being curious and creative and, brave, that's really what matters. And you will create things that speak to other folks.
Yeah.
And ultimately you'll be happy with the way you've led your life.
Yeah.
And I just feel like she has seen and done a lot. And at the same time, she's still humble and curious and open and warm and those are all aspects of leadership that I really, really admire and want to be around. And she looks like she's having a great time, frankly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, it's the art of living. And I think that's the key to humans is that what are you going to do when the cameras are off? What are you going to do when you
yeah.
don't think anybody's watching? Because that's really when the, you know, that when the rubber hits the road, that's who we are. That's the essence. So
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool. So at the end of the day, you have all these passions and pursuits and you're highly driven. What ultimately gets you out of bed? What ultimately makes you who you are? What ultimately drives you to evolve as a human?
Oh, wow. Um, you know, the excitement of doing something new, the excitement of meeting somebody new and going somewhere new. Um, just that that is definitely it really is the adventure. It's knowing that I'm gonna learn something today, I'm gonna discover something today, I'm gonna do all of that while I'm making something and connecting. So I just think as long as I'm doing the things that really light me up, and I find that the older I get, the clearer I get that on what really, really lights me up and letting go of the things that might light somebody else up, but really don't work for me.
Yeah.
Um, and I think one of the keys to knowing that I'm a creative entrepreneur is knowing that I really don't function well if I'm doing the same thing every day for years. Like that kind of takes away that vitality and joy. So as long as I'm leading with the adventure and the sense of curiosity and joy and connection, I am a very happy person. So,
So you get the chance to make food that gets to go on these adventures with people to Europe and around the
mm,
world and everywhere. But what is one of the best success stories of your company so far? One that always puts a smile on your face.
oh my goodness. Um, Honestly, it's hearing other people's stories and seeing their faces light up when I tell them that we are making this product that they have access to and that is going to completely change their trip that they're about to go on or that they're planning, or even a dear friend of mine who's like, "Oh my gosh, if only your product had been around like 2 years ago when I was running around like a crazy person with my little ones in the car." And um, just knowing exactly like you said, that our product is actually going on adventures with people and making it so much better and giving them the chance to know, you know what, when I arrive after a long trip at my hotel, I don't have to like stumble around a city trying to find somewhere that I might be able to get food that I can eat. I can actually just get some hot water, go up to my hotel room, decompress, enjoy a really great meal, and then be ready for the adventure of a lifetime. So it really, really, it sounds however it sounds, but it really, really is like hearing other people get so lit up and share their stories about how excited they are that this is available to them now.
What's your favorite meal, your go-to? If you need a comfort meal, something that you
Yeah.
really look forward to, what's that meal you're going to go to?
It's you know what? Now it's actually our pesto risotto because for years I'm somebody who hasn't been able to eat dairy for years. Like I'm actually allergic to it.
Yeah,
And for years the thing that I there were a couple of things that I was super grumpy about not being able to eat. One was pizza and the other was risotto.
yeah,
And going into a restaurant and knowing that I couldn't order the risotto was like a knife to the heart.
yeah.
So basically the fact that now I have this basically chicken pesto risotto that I can eat and that I just don't get tired of. Like I love it every
That's
time.
wonderful. That's wonderful. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, you ran into the 20-year-old version of yourself, and you could give
Oh,
that young version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've led, the wisdom you've gained, what advice would you impart on that young version of you?
I would say don't give a rat's behind about anybody else's idea of how you should live your life. Like
Yeah,
really, really, as soon as you possibly can, ditch caring about other people's opinions because it's coming from their experience and what they want for their lives. And they have no idea what actually lights you up and the
Yeah.
journey that you're about to take. So yeah, just ditch caring about other people's opinions.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, of all of the things that you've done, evolved, and become and overcome, what are you the proudest of?
Oh man. Um, for me, I'm I'm most proud of the home that I've created here. I have a really beautiful home with a lovely partner and my cat and my dog, and we're on 16 acres on Vancouver Island. And we lease some of our property out to a flower farmer. So like I get to look out in the spring and just see this field of flowers. Like I feel like I'm kind of, as somebody who grew up in a home that was very um dysfunctional and pretty traumatic, to have a home that feels not only safe but beautiful and full of love, and just every day I have joy and play and creativity, and I'm just incredibly grateful
Yeah.
actually for, and I'm present to that more and more,
Yeah.
how very lucky I am, and also that this is what I created.
So at the end of the day, everyone sees you in a certain light, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh man.
That's
Who do
the
I think I
therapy
am?
hour.
That's fantastic. That's a great question. Who do I think I am? I am probably a mystery to a lot of people, but I think ultimately I am a person, I'm still that person from the third grade. Like I am still this human that just deeply, deeply wants to connect with other humans and is so fascinated by what they're doing and what they're up to. Um, and wants to be around other people who are lit up by what they're making
Yeah.
and are offering it out there in the world, and just are that source of delightful joy because they're having such a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I totally get it. So if anyone wants to get your delicious meals, learn more about
Yeah.
you, reach out, anything about your world, where can they go?
They can go to it's flourish.kitchen. So it's kind of easy when you just do www and then flourish.kitchen. There's no com or anything. So that's the easiest place. And then that will show you where we are on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all the things. So
Excellent, Kate. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything.
thank you. This was just such a delight. I loved
Yes,
it. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.